All right, so the NFL draft has wrapped up, but got some new guys coming in pretty soon for basketball and football, it looks like, that may be on draft boards here sooner rather than later.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. Thank you for making us your first listen every single day. And yes, my voice is kind of gone. I'll tell you why here shortly. But right now, I want to talk about the guys that got drafted to wrap up the NFL draft, Jimmy. It was another banner NFL draft for the Crimson Tide. 10 players total taken. Yesterday was asked to be on Locked On Vikings and talk about Dallas Turner and Will Reichard. And it always blows my mind how little true NFL guys follow college football. Because he did. I mean, again, the Vikings guy knows his Viking stuff like you wouldn't believe. He knows the NFL stuff. He was talking about schemes and all this other stuff. But he didn't really know a ton about the college game. And I mean, it's so foreign to me because I'm like, how can you watch those two? And I love the NFL, but how can you not watch those two and be completely captivated by college football? And I just have to remind myself, I mean, he's in Minnesota. No, Minnesota is not the biggest state in the union, but they have a lot more people than Alabama does. They've got the T-Wolves. They've got the Twins. They've got the Vikings. They probably have a hockey team. I don't know. I don't watch hockey.
The Wild.
That's right.
The Wild, I believe, is what they're called.
And their college team.
And they misspell it.
Yeah. And their college team is a team that's not a problem for anybody. And then they're next door to South Dakota. So, or North Dakota, somewhere in there. Don't put geography in front of me right now. It's early on Sunday. But regardless, Jimmy,
why did they make two Dakotas? Do we need to look that up? Why are there two?
God, can you imagine how lonely just one Dakota would be?
I guess maybe that's the reason.
You got to break it up. Jimmy, you got to break up the Dakotas.
They're like, there's 20 people up here. We need to have 10 up north and 10 down south. We're getting confused. We're no longer on a first-name basis with everyone.
There we go. Okay, so let's start there because I think Will Reichard going to Minnesota made me as happy as anybody. First of all, the Locked On Minnesota host was quick to remind me, like, hey, we had a kicker from the Southeastern Conference a few years ago named Blair Walsh who shanked about an 18-yarder to send us into the second round of the playoffs or something. And I said, well, I think this one's going to be different. I said, I really do. And he said, why? Okay. I said, first of all, Will Reichard is the all-time leading scorer in NCAA history. And he was a little shocked about that. He was like, wow, really? Okay. And he said, I said, secondly, he's very stable. I mean, he's married. He's got his act together. He's played under the limelight. He knows about I said, we all know in the NFL, every game is decided by 3 points. It always is. And so you got to have a good kicker, right? And I said, and this guy has been under the pressure cooker of Alabama football, like trying to maintain Alabama football where it is. Every game is a big game. Everybody is somebody's biggest game of the year. And I said, he's done very well. He should have won the Lou Groza award, and he didn't. So we went and got
twice. He had a really good case more than once.
So, and I want you to talk about this because he said, what's his signature moment at Alabama? I said, oh my God. I said, that's a great question because frankly, his signature moment to me is in 2021 and 2023, kicking big field goals we needed in Jordan-Hare Stadium when we always missed those big field goals. But it wasn't to end the game. It wasn't to win it. It was to continue in overtime or, bring make it 10-3 like it was this year or whatever. And I said, he doesn't have a game winner that I know of. Now, Jimmy, maybe you can remember one. I don't. I said, the thing that Alabama fans will remember about him is we never worried about it. We were like, we'll make that. We never worried. I was like, for years under Saban, we're like, oh my God, it's an extra point. Please, Lord Jesus, would you let him make this one? And we're so worried. But now with Will Reichard, we were like, we got that. 50 yards, we got that. Right?
Yeah, I would say it is true. Even though he was Alabama's kicker for 5 years, I don't believe, as a matter of fact, I'm really sure he never made a kick to win the game as time expired. He never had that moment, nor did he miss one. And I just don't think there was a kick from Reichard as time expires to win the game. But I will say that there was something close to that, and that was his kick on the road to beat Texas in Austin in 2022. And here's the thing about that I would say is a signature moment for me and Will Reichard is when Will went on the field to win or lose that game. Because had he missed that kick, Alabama would have lost. I mean, you can't say Alabama won the game on the kick because they still had to play some defense for a brief period of time before the clock completely elapsed. But had Reichard missed, Alabama would have lost. I had, as a fan, 100% confidence Reichard was going to make the kick. There was no doubt in my mind. I mean, that was like when Will trotted on the field that day, I'm like, we won. And that's the signature moment for me, is that I didn't doubt Reichard. Now, did he make every kick? No. And I can name a couple, Tennessee in 2022 that he missed that was bad. And that haunts him, I'm sure, to this day. But it's not so much a signature moment. It's the signature career. The signature career is what Will Reichard had, where he was great for 5 years. He was great and punted when we needed him. Remember, there's injuries a couple different times, and we needed him to punt. Not only did he punt, he punted pretty well. And such a super kid, and worked hard and came back that 5th year, came back when he didn't have to. But I think, Luke, him coming back and working on his kickoffs, which is what he really needed to work on to make it in the NFL, he came back and worked on what he needed to work on to find a spot in the NFL, and he did. He pulled it off. And I think coming back is why he got drafted, and he's going to a great situation up there. I'm sure that Vikings guy talked about that. Will is only one of 2 kickers now on that roster, and the other guy's never kicked an NFL game either and doesn't have Reichard's resume. So I think Will Reichard stands an excellent chance of being the kicker. Now, it's not easy. One time Minnesota drafted that freak from Auburn, Daniel Carlson, and he was pretty good, and they cut him. And he's gone on to have a great career with the Raiders. But, the NFL, when they say it stands for not for long, I think they're specifically referring to kickers.
Yeah.
They will cut you. You can be 17 of 17, miss the 18th kick, and they're like, clean out your locker. And that's a brutal league for kickers. But
he talked about that, Jimmy, about how like Blair Walsh was never the same. He was like
he's a Georgia guy, I think.
Yeah, he is. And they said that's why he said, we had an SEC kicker not too long ago that really disappointed us. And but
Daniel Carlson was there.
Yeah, and then they screwed that up. Minnesota screwed that up.
Yeah,
but he was also he was ecstatic about Dallas Turner. He was like, look, he said, none of us did any homework about Dallas Turner. He said, you always do your homework for like the first round guys because you don't know what's going to happen later on. So you can't really be like, oh, maybe we'll get Will Reichard in the 6th or 7th round. No, you don't think about that. But he said, we're studying over all these guys. And he said, Dallas Turner wasn't even on our radar. And he said, everybody was looking around like, is Dallas Turner going to fall to us? And he said, it's just unbelievable. And I said, yeah. Not only that, I told him about his dad being a wealth manager in Dallas, investing his NIL money. I was like, this is not a dude who's going to show up in a gold-plated Lamborghini and be like, hey, where do I start and who do I tackle first? That's not what he's going to do. He's going to be like showing up ready to work. And they did sign 2. He said, now, again, this is me not following the NFL. He said the Vikings did go out in free agency and sign 2 edge rushers.
Brian Burns, I think.
Oh, did they?
No. He went to the Giants. My bad.
Van Hinkel, somebody, or Van Pinkel. I don't know. They didn't sign Rip Van Winkle, but that would be funny.
He's already getting his pension.
Sleeping right there. He is. Van Winkle was asleep on the job again.
Sleeps through every meeting.
So anyway, I just said y'all are gonna love this dude. So he was very happy with the Alabama guys. We're going to talk about some other Alabama guys that were drafted right after I tell you about Monopoly Go. I'm going to tell you about Monopoly Go as soon as I pull up all this stuff about Monopoly Go. Look, I probably shouldn't even have to pull this up.
Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
There you go. Look, all right, game on. We got to pause here. to talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying. There's a flag on the play. You've already talked about that 100 times, but there's just so much more fun stuff about this game you got to know. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for time tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to get. Unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes, cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with, hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels like a new and exciting game every single day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton is included in this with their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine. What is a pachinko machine? I don't know.
Not me.
Okay.
That's that running back for the Chiefs, right?
There's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go, so get off the bench and go download it today on Google Play or the App Store. It's game on with Monopoly Go. Now, this is true. Yesterday, my daughter had a spend the night guest, and they're both on the same soccer team, and that's where I lost my voice. I'll get to that in a second.
Is it the Perkins guy from Mutual of Omaha?
It is. Mr. Ray Perkins.
Again? No, it's Fowler. Fowler from Mutual of Fowler. Jim Fowler.
Jim Fowler.
Jim Fowler. That's your guy.
But Marlon Perkins, who was with the Mutual of Omaha, is who I thought was taking over for Bear Bryant instead of Ray Perkins.
You've told Marlon Perkins stories. I guess that's where I got him briefly mixed.
Yeah. But
I knew Fowler had spent the night in your house before, which is, I think that's a top 5.
One of the coolest things that happened. Yeah. But so anyway, my daughter's spend the night guests and my daughter were like intently looking at their iPad screen. I was like, what are y'all doing? They're like, we're playing Monopoly Go. And I said, guys, I don't want to brag, but I do live reads from Monopoly Go on my podcast. And they both looked up at me like, we'll file this under stuff we don't care about. And then look back. So anyway, then yesterday, so my daughter had a big soccer game. We beat a team that was really, it was an intense game because my daughter's best friend's on the other team on Friday night. And then Saturday, we played the only other undefeated team and we beat them 3-0. And if you've ever seen me, and there was a guy who came to me at the soccer field yesterday, shout out to you. I didn't get your name, but he said, I love the podcast. And I said, thank you. And I ran back and I was like, this guy's watching me scream at these 7-year-old girls and thinking this guy's a lunatic because I don't know anything about soccer. I just like run, kick, hustle. And I'm like, okay, I got a new deal. And all my parents are on board is what I love about this. I told the girls, I said, here's the deal, because my daughter, again, not trying to brag, my daughter's good. And the girl that spent the night with her is really good. And then there's our goalie is incredible. But other than that, everybody's sort of interchangeable. There's some that are better than others, obviously, but then there's some that just don't like soccer. That they're just out there to be friends. And I've now told them all, and I told their parents, I said, here's the deal. If I don't see them running, if I don't see them hustling, and if they whiff the ball, they come out. I don't care what's happening. And so I put one in yesterday. She was on defense. She immediately whiffed it. And I was like, you're coming out. She was like, I just got in. I said, it's the whiff rule. What you want me to do? And I don't make the rules. I do, but I follow them too. So anyway, I yell at these girls a lot, and that's why we win. I've associated yelling with winning. So
start calling you Will Muschamp.
I am the Will Muschamp.
You're the Will Muschamp of that league.
Who say UH soccer, girls soccer? Okay, so
7 and under.
So
you're giving them the Muschamp. Wowza.
Yeah, it's bad. Anyway, one of that same one, by the way, came up to me yesterday, and she said, like in the middle of the game, is 1-0. We're playing for first place, and I'm just into it, right? She comes over and she goes, Coach Luke, what made you get into coaching? I was like, you're going to make me get out of coaching if you don't sit down. Not
a way to tell her, Will.
All right, let's talk some more about this draft. I'll tell you the one I like a lot is Jace McClellan going to the Falcons.
I was very excited for Jace.
Boyd B going to the Chargers, and let's see, Jalen Key going to the Jets. Who am I missing?
Last bit. No, Jace, Reichard, Will, Boyd B, Jermaine Burton. We didn't really talk about the Friday guys. Jermaine Burton going even in the third round surprised me just a little bit. I think he's got second, third round talent, but you heard Nick Saban immediately talk about emotional maturity.
Yes.
And off the field. He's not necessarily talking about the stuff on the field. I know on the field's what we all see as fans and how he can be super emotional. And that's not something that he channels only on the field. It's off the field too. So, the thing about being a third round pick, in the NFL is you don't have a guaranteed contract. So that's one thing about Jermaine is if he, you can get cut. So you got to be on your best behavior at all time, or they'll just tell you to pack your stuff. There's no penalty for cutting players with non-guaranteed
Is your
contracts.
burrito ready or something? I heard.
No, it literally was the oven. It literally was the oven. We have we're preheating. We're preheating for brunch over here at the estate.
Oh, I don't know. Jimmy's all pinky out brunch time here at the Little Lord Fauntleroy's house. Okay, so
eating stuff I can't pronounce.
By the way, Jermaine Burton going to Cincinnati seems both awesome and scary, because if there's one franchise that it feels like can't get a hold of its players when it needs to, sometimes it's Cincinnati. The Raiders are their own league, so forget that. The Raiders they encourage it, right? But
there is a history.
So I'm worried about his pick there with the big. I will say this: it is pretty cool. He could be. I think Joe Burrow will like him.
Well, I think Burton is a good player. I think they got some value for him athletically. I have no doubt the guy athletically can do well in the NFL. He's probably not a number one guy, but he's a really good, number two, number three guy for any NFL team. So I'm pulling for him, and I hope things work out for him. He went and Jace. The thing about Jace getting drafted that I was so excited about, you have injury issues, and then you have a guy who missed the Senior Bowl. He couldn't play in the Senior Bowl. Couldn't even take his invitation to the Senior Bowl because he was hurt. Then he gets invited to the combine. He goes to combine, but cannot work out and do anything because he's hurt. And then you wait. Well, at least he's got pro day. Jace couldn't even compete at pro day. So so he was injured throughout the process, which shows what a warrior he was for Alabama. That in his final game against Michigan in the Rose Bowl, he averaged 6.2 yards a carry, despite not even being healthy enough to participate in the Senior Bowl, the Combine, or Pro Day. And what a warrior he was for Alabama, playing through things. And now, now the season, he was playing through some rib issues at Alabama. I think playing with banged up ribs, that's hard to do as a running back unless you're just tough as nails. But Jace was a really good player. Again, he wasn't great, and that's why he wasn't going to be a first-round pick or even a day 2 pick, because he wasn't that level of player. But at Alabama, I think sometimes we don't give enough credit to day 3 guys who are really the glue to your team and the glue to your roster. And if you don't think a day 3 guy can play, you're crazy. Ask all the teams that didn't have day 3 guys if they wish they had a few. And going to Atlanta's fun because, it's a local team for us. Who else? Braz went to Tampa. Latham went to Nashville. So all of these, Kool-Aid to New Orleans. These are all our local teams for those of you who listen, in the state of Alabama.
Yeah, I do like that. So we got, who's that NFC South? This
Carolina and Bryce.
Carolina's got Bryce, and they've got some other, some other Alabama players I know. And then, of course, you got New Orleans now has Kool-Aid, and Tampa's got Braswell, and Atlanta got Jace. There's some other Alabama guys mixed in there too, but I'm saying I like it when a whole division has some of our dudes. It was weird. Minnesota had no Bama players before this.
Yeah, that's right. I think they were one that didn't have any, and now they have Dallas and Reichard, who will be significant players there. It's funny when the guy said we didn't do any work on Dallas. I remember this just the other day. Before J.J. McCarthy blew up and before the Vikings lost Kirk Cousins to the Falcons in free agency, when Minnesota was only picking, like 11th or wherever they were, I saw some mocks had Dallas going to the Vikings. That was way back in January because they needed an edge rusher at that time. But then they added pass rushers in free agency. They lose Cousins. Then they end up with 2 first-round picks. Then everyone's saying they're the team that's going to trade up and get McCarthy, which is what happened. Yeah. And then so that's why there was no Dallas to the Vikings talk at all. But there was initially, but when I mean initially, I'm one of those losers that starts looking at mock drafts in January. But
I do too. And the mock drafts have already come out, and
I'm already upset about the mock drafts. I think Here's
Dallas. Hang on, they have Dallas Cowboys taking Jalen Milroe, and my thing was like, okay, I think y'all should, if y'all just want to slot players in, like, okay, 1 through 32, and just let them fall where they may. But number 2, you're also predicting where the teams are, and number 3, it puts some thought into it, because if Dallas is going to move on from Dak Prescott, pretty mobile, bigger, stronger quarterback who has accuracy issues at times, do you think they're going to draft another dude just like him?
That's a great point. Yeah, I think if Dallas moves on from Dak, they're probably going to make a splashy free agent type hire, I would think. But regardless of where they had guys going, you know what's going to hurt Alabama in this next draft, and we haven't been hurt in a draft in a while because drafts go really well. Here's a weird thing. Here's 4 excellent pro prospects for Alabama for next year. Excellent ones. Tyler Booker and Jaden Roberts. And then Deontay Lawson and Jahad Campbell. 4 guys. I think they might be Alabama's 4 best or most sure NFL picks next spring. They play the positions that get no love in the draft. Guards and inside linebackers get pushed down draft boards. And I think Alabama may have kind of a year where a lot of guys get drafted, but maybe not as many 1s and 2s for that reason, that the headliners, the best pro prospects, are playing positions that don't get a lot of love in the draft. So that's one thing to look for. And as far as Milroe, I think Milroe could be a top 10 pick or not drafted at all. There's a lot left for him to prove developmentally. And again, I'm pulling for him, and I think he could be a top 10 pick, but there needs to be some steps forward in his game. And I think he'll be the first to tell you that.
And I'm with you on that. And we got to go to a live read, but I'll tell you, if I'm Jalen Milroe, I'm going, hey, y'all, this whole I might not get drafted thing is off. Joe Milton got drafted yesterday. Right? I mean,
there's some talk that Patriots are actually going to play him at quarterback the first 2 days and then move him to tight end. You know, he had outstanding tight end measurables at the draft. He ran like a 4.5 something at 250 pounds.
Incredible. All right, let's talk about some FanDuel here, y'all, because FanDuel is awesome. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL, and baseball's in full swing. And FanDuel is your place to bet on every single game. I had a guy last night was betting on FanDuel, right? And I was talking to him. He said, "I've got the Denver Nuggets to sweep the Lakers." And I said, "You need to middle that thing because you've already got it." He had it like plus 500 and something. And I was like, "You can win a bunch of money. Just middle it." And you got. He's like, "Nah, I'm going to let this puppy ride." Well, he shouldn't have done that. But anyway, right now, get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that's safe, secure, and easy to use. What you waiting for, bruh? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Okay, now we're going to talk about game time. You want to talk about stuff I know.
Game time.
That's patent pending on saying that. Game time is maybe my favorite advertiser that we've ever had here. And I say that lovingly because I love all our advertisers, but Game Time is the one I've used the most. Locked On College is your code you want to use when you go to Game Time. Download that app, get $20 off. But look, I'm telling you, this is a personal testament. I've used it for NFL, NBA, college football, college basketball. My son used it for the World Series. You can use it for whatever. And you could go get biscuits tickets, from the Montgomery Biscuits or whatever. You can do whatever you want to on Game Time. You can see your seats, and they got all these guarantees. I'm telling you, it's the easiest of all the ticket apps to use. I've had some nightmare times with Ticketmaster. I'm telling you, Game Time, never a problem. Never a problem. Never had to contact their customer service. That says a lot to me because there's a lot of moving parts when you're doing this stuff, and you want somebody you can trust, and you can trust Game Time. Go download that app. Use code Locked On College for $20 off your first order. Again, sorry about the lack of voice and clearing the throat, guys. It's been a rough weekend for Daddy.
Muschamp probably couldn't talk to Wednesdays.
When you must champ a bunch of 7-year-old girls.
Yeah, he wasn't talking in practice until Wednesdays. When he's probably still doing that as a defensive analyst at Georgia. He's screaming it into the void since he can't wear a headset.
Okay, so LeBaron Philon was at Alabama this weekend. I mean, Jimmy, this looks like all done but the crying, right? I mean, it's pretty much over. I mean, LeBaron Philon will be at Alabama. I mean, tell me I'm wrong.
I'm confident in predicting it. I don't think he's committed, but I'm confident. I mean, that's my confident prediction. Like you, I think Philon is probably going to pick Alabama. Coincidence, it's not coincidental at all. It's just where kids grow up. But he's really tight with Ryan Williams. They know each other well. They were Instagram living each other over the weekend, whatever it is that kids do. But Ryan and LeBaron Philon are really close, and that probably helps. I think one thing about Philon and the kids from in-state is they have friends. He didn't. Who's he going to know at Kansas other than who recruited him there?
Ron Griffin.
Yeah. It's like, didn't I bump into you on an unofficial visit once? But he's going to know Baker. I don't think regularly sends lots of kids to Alabama, but Baker is a high school in Alabama that he went to for 3 years that has over 2,000 students in Mobile. So he's going to know students at Alabama that he went to high school with at Baker, and that makes a big difference for these kids. I mean, they're social creatures, and and it's not as it's a little scary, even when you're a big shot basketball player, to go off to a place where the only people on the campus are the adults who recruited you there.
Then there's Cliff O, that is on campus today. We don't know anything yet, so we really won't spend any time on that. We will hopefully talk about it tomorrow.
I'm hopeful. If I'm predicting today, I'll say Cliff to Alabama, but I'm basing that off nothing but we need him, and Nate Oates is really good at this.
And we got money.
We need him. Nate's really good at this. So I like our chances there, but we have no at BOL. We're not really working off intel there just yet, although we might have it soon.
But then the other news that we expected was potentially Grant Nelson confirming he's coming back, which we all think that. I mean, every message board was hinting around to that yesterday, and it didn't really happen. But he was supposed to enter the NBA draft by last night at midnight. Now, as you pointed out very astutely, the NBA is not going to release that list till tomorrow. I guess they take Sunday off. And so he might have done it, but we don't think he did. And then, of course, you got Mark Sears that's waiting on some NBA feedback. But I think there is a growing optimism that both Nelson and Sears will be back.
If we have Sears, Nelson, Philon, and Cliff O added to what we've already got, I mean, here's the thing. Basketball is especially the NCAA tournament, you never know. You could lose. I'm not going to say you could lose to Yale in the first round. I mean, who would do that? But you could. Just because you have the best team is no guarantee that you're going to win. Alabama went in as the number 1 seed 2 years ago and lost in the Sweet 16, and in my opinion, probably had the best team. Certainly played like it for a big chunk of the year. But it would be the best roster we've ever had. The best roster, which makes it the best Alabama roster. It would be the best roster we've ever had, and a roster that would be envied by the Carolinas and the Kentuckys. I mean, it would be crazy if you're able to do all that. Sears back, Nelson back, land LeBaron Philon as a recruit, and then sign Cliff Omayuri out of the portal from Rutgers. Boy, brain poop there.
God, you had a brain poop on brain poop.
Brain poop on Rutgers. I mean, I was like, where's Cliff play? Rutgers.
All right, really quickly, Ed Woods made it in last night, the safety from Arizona State. So, and here's the thing, Coach DeBoer is down at Orange Beach speaking on that Tide on tour or travel with the Tide, or here comes the Tide, whatever it is. He's
the NIL fundraising tour is what that is.
It was a much better name for it than "Give me some money, please. I need help."
which is a more apt description of whatever it is that they're calling it, which is great. Man, they have players there and everything. Milroe, Malachi, Ryan Williams. Isn't that great?
That is awesome.
He's at Saraland High School, and he's the star of the Alabama tour.
Wilson. I would just take my wallet and throw it. Take the credit cards. Take my AAA card. Take it all.
That's why he was there. He's walking around with one of those cubes, where you can just stick your card.
That's where you just swipe your card.
Your card. Ryan was walking around the cube. Hey, I'm Ryan Williams. Cube
mate. Cube mate. Leave a tip? Yes. I've learned. I know that the people have talked about this ad nauseum. This whole thing where I'm swiping my card or tapping my card everywhere I go now. And like everybody is like, do you want to leave a tip? At first, it was guilting me into it. Then I was like, I don't. You didn't do anything other than what you were paid to do. You rung up my order, and then I've got to go get it when you hit a button, and I come up and get it. And you want me to tip you for that?
You just charged me $7 for popcorn, and now I'm supposed to tip?
Exactly. I mean, it is a little.
I mean, I'm just saying that's very old man of me because I like tipping big. I like. I mean, I'm gonna tip over 20% sometimes, but not when you totally assault me, at the cash register with $7 for popcorn and $8 for a Coke.
I had to give blood
tip
to come watch the new Kung Fu Panda movie, and you want me to tip you from that plasma I donated? No. Anyway,
they're charging you if they're charging you $6 for a hot dog, then they need to be paying their help $30 an hour.
Yeah, I agree. Like, anyway, I don't mind tipping at all. I'm like you, but this whole thing where we tip everywhere we go has gotten ridiculous.
Well, and again, for things over, I mean, I'll tip the bag guy, of course. Yeah. At the hotel, of course. And restaurants, of course. But for being overcharged at the do we, when you go to the movie theater and they overcharge you, are we supposed to tip there? Why do they want tips at the ball game? When I go to the movie theater and they charge me $10 for 4 bites of popcorn, I'm supposed to tip there too? Man, I'm sounding like Larry David.
But you literally just handed me the souvenir cup that cost me $14, filled with something that's going to kill me early, and you want me to tip you for that? I don't get it. Anyway, all right, we got to run. That's going to do it for today's podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with more, hopefully with a commitment from Cliff Armory. And then until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.